Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo orders overhaul of Special Anti-Robbery Squad of Nigeria Police Force, and Police Chief Ibrahim Idris promptly complies, banning SARS operations in states. Senate President Dr. Saraki and Speaker of the House of Representatives Dogara say no date has been fixed for the reconvening of the National Assembly to consider President Buhari's supplementary budget. Independent National Electoral Commission registers 23 new political parties just as it extends the deadline for continuous voter registration by 2 weeks. And at least 35 persons are killed after a giant motorway bridge collapses in Italy. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and then follow the instructions. Let's take a look at some of those pictures that were sent in to us, beginning with this one from the Muwe-Ibafo axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, showing this gridlock, which our eyewitness reports lasted for hours. He complains about how commuters traveling out of Lagos State were held as they could not exit the gridlock, and he wants something done about it. Still on the gridlock is this next image from the Mile 2 Badagry, also in Lagos State. Our eyewitness reports about how motorists were held there for more than 3 hours. And finally is this set of images from different towns in Osun State, including the state capital, Osogbo, showing construction sites of ongoing road projects across the state. Among the images are those showing the poor state of the roads before the projects commenced. Our eyewitness reporter thanks the state government for embarking on the project and saying that they would like to have some more. Thanks for all your images. Do send us some more. The presidency says there's no iota of truth in the story that's been making the rounds that some foreign countries are opposed to President Buhari's second-term bid. The presidential spokesman, Femi Adesina, in a statement, says the story is nothing but fake news and should be treated as such. He says, on the contrary, President Buhari enjoys a good relationship with most of the countries named in the report, saying, quote, "If there are quarters in which President Buhari is held in very high esteem and the work he's doing for Nigeria highly lauded, it's in the countries mentioned. Some of them are equally bastions of democracy and will not interfere in the democratic affairs of a sovereign country," end of quote. According to the presidential spokesman, the president gave deep thought to the prospect before announcing his bid for a second term in office. Nigerians may have to wait a little longer for the reconvening of the National Assembly to consider the budget of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And that's because the leadership of both chambers has confirmed that no date has been fixed for the reconvening of the legislature to consider the budget request as forwarded by President Muhammadu Buhari on July the 17th, 2018. This is contained in a statement jointly issued by the Senate President, Dr. Saraki, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Dogara. According to them, both chambers had agreed to reconvene to consider the proposal this week after a meeting between the Joint Senate and the House of Representatives Committees on Electoral Matters and the officials of INEC must have held or before Monday, August the 13th, 2018. The statement adds, quote, "The joint committees were also expected to meet with the Joint Senate and House Committees on Appropriations, Loans and Debts on the Eurobond loan request, after which 2 reports would have been ready for presentation in the 2 chambers. However, no such meeting had taken place yet, and as a result of which both Senate and House of Representatives cannot reconvene as there is no report to consider," end of quote. According to the Senate President and the Speaker, until the 2 chambers receive the report by the committees for consideration, it would be irresponsible to recall the lawmakers from recess, especially those that may have traveled to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj. The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, led by the party chairman Adams Oshomole, has met with senators and members of the House of Representatives elected on the platform of the APC. The meeting, according to Mr. Oshomole, is aimed at reflecting on issues affecting the country with the aim of delivering good governance to Nigerians. He explains that the purpose of the meeting is to let the whole world know that the party has 56 senators elected on the platform of the party, which forms a simple majority of the Senate. Out of the 360 members of the House of Representatives, Mr. Oshomole says the party maintains the majority with 196 members. But the Speaker, Dogara, was absent at the meeting.
Legislators and members of the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress converge in Abuja to discuss issues affecting the party and the country. Prominent among those absent is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Dogara. The national chairman of the party kickstarts the event with a renewed call on the Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki, to resign or be impeached.
I also know that it is the wish of all our senators elected on the platform of our party that we cannot be subjected to minority rule in the Nigeria Senate. And therefore, whether it is convenient for distinguished Senator Saraki or not, the truth is, whether by morality or by law or by convention, distinguished Senator Saraki can only avoid impeachment by towing the path of honor, step down, so that APC can take over the leadership of the House.
The majority leader of the House of Representatives and his counterpart in the Senate used the occasion to appeal to the leadership of the National Assembly to reconvene soon.
So I want to appeal, use this opportunity to appeal to the presiding officers to allow us to reconvene the House for this particular purpose, just a one-day exercise, so that we can all go on our holiday. We don't pass the budget request. It serves the PDP very well, but it doesn't serve us at all.
The meeting, which later went into a closed-door session, is aimed at reappraising the commitment of the party to ensure that good governance is delivered to Nigerians.
And staying with politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission has registered 23 new political parties, bringing the total number of parties in the country to 91. The Commission says it received a total of 144 applications from different political associations, but had to pick the 23 that met the requirements of the Constitution and the Electoral Act. INEC says this will be the last round of registration of parties until after the general elections. Meanwhile, INEC has also extended the deadline for the continuous voter registration exercise nationwide by 2 weeks. INEC says it's decided to make the CVR exercise truly continuous for the first time by opening permanent registration centres in all 774 local government offices and 672 other centres. They say this will ensure that all year round, Nigerians who turn 18 and who have not registered previously have an opportunity to register.
The development of political parties in Nigeria dates back to pre-independence days. Since 1999, the country's party system has evolved with its democracy. When voters go to the polls in 2019, they have a long list of parties and varied options to choose from, except for the possibility of coalitions, which could shrink the number. The Nigerian political space is opening up for mass participation, especially with party politics, but this comes with a cost. The electoral umpire has a huge task before it, and the entire framework of Nigeria's multi-party system sits on the Commission's table. The funding for the 2019 general elections is still hanging. The National Assembly may not reconvene anytime soon, and the budget for the election is one of the pending issues locked at the chambers. Aside the funding, there is also a discussion around revisiting the country's party system. Despite the participation of 14 political parties during the 2015 presidential elections, more than 90% of the votes were shared between the two leading parties, the APC and the PDP. Now, with 91 parties in the bag, the question is, Will there be a more diverse distribution of votes come 2019?
Now let's take a deeper look at the issues, and joining me is an Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, University of Lagos, Dr. Kayode Ishola. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Well, thank you very much.
And I think it would be interesting to look at the ballot sheet, with 91 parties reflected. What do you think about this development?
Well, you're going to have a really elongated, to choose that word, ballot sheet, which may not necessarily indicate spread of democracy. Two parties are still dominant in Nigeria, and we're not likely to have anything different from what we have in 2015. However, with the sentiment of not too young to run and not too old not to run, if we choose to put it that way, maybe there's going to be a paradigm shift in the sense that some new political parties will pull more weight than probably you expect them to put. But dominantly, you still expect PDP and APC, perhaps with two or more parties, to take the dominance in,
And you remember that the budget for this election next year is still in question. No date yet as to when that will be discussed. And then we see these new parties coming up. Do you see INEC accommodating them? Is this going to be part of the new budget, we hope, or will it be present funds that they have already? As they say, there's a difference between, the funds they have for their general operations and funds for elections.
Now, one would be tempted to say that theoretically, adding 23 more parties this time is a good knock for democracy. Because even in the United States, where we are trying to copy, you see some parties that exist simply because they want something as funny as marijuana, legalized. But in practice, for us in Nigeria, when you add 23 more political parties, when issues of funding is still being discussed every day and is critical, the question is, how do you cope? Are you not biting up more than what you want to chew? Is the time going to permit you to be able to do a thorough job when it comes to preparation for the election and the execution of the election itself? These are issues that we may have to contend with because 23 more parties have been added. I don't see it not giving us problem, especially at the practical sense.
Let me just ask you quickly, with this whole idea of political parties springing up, before elections, shutting down afterwards, the accusations of some of them operating from their cars, they have no real ideology. How is this done in other climes, really quickly now, and what can we do to have some sort of standard where, the process of registering a party is concerned?
There are no two ways in which it can be done. Democracy comes by experimentation. You just have to register and unregister. The problem comes when you register and you refuse to unregister when you discover problems. By the way, what should pain Nigerians most is the fact that most of these parties that are coming up do not have any semblance of ideology. Parties should be known for something, even if it is weird, even if it's unacceptable to the dominant section of the society, they should be known for something. If you Google all these parties that you have here now, you have the name, you have the party, ideology, zero. And that is not going to spell well for our democracy as a nation.
All right. Associate Professor Dr. Kayode Ishola, thanks for sharing your thoughts on the News at 10 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And when the News at 10 returns, Industrial Training Fund identifies lack of relevant skills as responsible for high rate of unemployment in the country. Please join us again.